summit in Bangkok. I mean, I was a bit worried when they told me, hey, you're going to be on the first panel. I'm like, oh wow, people actually show up to the first panel, and I'm like, so happy to see so many friendly faces here so early in the morning, and I think that all of you deserve a round of applause, actually. Yeah. Thank you so much for showing up. We are going to touch on the topic of Web3 and beyond today, reshaping our economies for the future. And before I begin, I'd love to introduce my awesome panelists over here. Maybe you guys would like to tell us a little bit about yourselves and what you do at the moment, and also where you are in your Web3 journeys. Let's start off with TRANG.
So, hi everyone. Make sure you can hear me. So, my name is TRANG, or it's too difficult, you can call me Chloe. I'm based in Vietnam, especially in Ho Chi Minh City, and headquarters of U2U Network is in Hanoi. So a little bit about myself. I'm a serial entrepreneur and started my entrepreneurship since 2016. So I'm focusing on frontier technology. So the first startup I have the opportunity to involve in biotech. And in 2016, we set the first biotechnology startup that could raise $30 million from the top institutional in Vietnam. And the second startup I co-founded cryptocurrency exchange, the top one crypto to fiat exchange in Vietnam. And Felix from last today was one of our long-term partners when we running the exchange. So currently I'm joining Unicorn Ultra Network. In short, you can call U2U Network on the hashtag here. So we are a layer 0 with the DAG based chain and EVM compatible. So talking about our technology, I'm proud to share that the first part is the Elliott consensus that offer up to 500,000 transactions per second at peak in the stress test development. And the second part is the subnet, beside the mainnet in the subnet part, that to help us to solve the problem of scalability that all the other blockchain is facing now today. Yeah.
Great, thanks so much, John. And NADJA, you would like to give us an intro of what you do at the moment?
First of all, I just want to echo your statement. It's wonderful to see, even though it's early morning and the traffic here is quite something to experience, that the house is full. My name is NADJA. I'm the co-founder of AdLunam. AdLunam is a Web3 investment ecosystem. Now, before I get into a little bit more about what that is, just my own journey, I've worked in the marketing space for about almost 20 years now. It sounds almost impossible to say when I think about it. And I've really seen the evolution in the marketing space from what was then digital marketing to today, all marketing is digital. And so Web3, I think, will follow a similar progression over the next decade plus, where the conversations we are having today, 10 years from now, will be a lot more commonplace. My own journey in this industry started around 2017. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I was an executive marketing position for a pharmaceutical company and decided to take a career sabbatical, heard about blockchain, cryptocurrencies, all of these terms, and became a journalist. And so really researched it from a very objective perspective. And then went on to, once again, work in the marketing industry in Web3, and currently, as I said, co-founder at AdLunam, where we connect early stage startups in the Web3 space with funding, institutional and retail funding. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much, NADJA. And now over to BOGDAN. As you see, he's the only male among 3 females, and that's usually not the case ladies, like on many panels, I would see like one or two women and the rest are men. But it happens today that, we have BOGDAN among three other panelists.
Good morning everyone, and many thanks for your invitation. What's the best way to start a beautiful morning in Bangkok, in the middle of three beautiful ladies on the stage and with so beautiful people today over here. My name is BOGDAN Christian STANACHE. I'm originally from Romania, but I'm you can say like a globetrotter. We operate in 10 countries, Hong Kong, Singapore, a lot of European countries, US, Romania obviously, and we're doing a lot of software development work, including this beautiful vertical, which is called blockchain. Actually, we have one of the, I would say, most beautiful team for the software blockchain development. We're doing a lot of government-related work, R&D projects, and so on. Most of the projects we're developing are related to the public sector, about 85-90%. I'm very happy to be with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, BOGDAN. And I am CECELIA Wong, CEO and founder of YourPRStrategist, which is a agency that's really focused on Web3 as well as emerging technologies. My own journey in blockchain and Web3 began in 2019 or thereabouts. So exactly what is Web3? We could throw this term around, and a lot of people are just associating Web3 with what's happening in crypto, but there's a lot more. There's more to it, and to really fully understand Web3, we do need to understand the Web 1 to 3 journey. There are several milestones from Web 1 to Web 3. And Web 1, of course, refers to the first iteration of the web, the World Wide Web in its infancy. And I would love to delve into some of the milestones and the impact it has had on the web from Web 1 to Web 3. And love for you guys to comment on that. Maybe we could start with NADJA.
This is probably one of the most interesting evolutions that we've seen in our lifetime. If you're old enough to remember your life before the internet, or even life before computers or smartphones, that was a completely different universe than the one we now. For someone like me, coming to a foreign country, having to navigate, booking hotels, booking flights, booking transport. This has become something that we rely on when it comes to technology, but it's hard to imagine that there was not too long ago a time when this really didn't exist as an option. I don't consider myself too old, and yet most of my life has been pre-technology, at least the formative years have. So now if we then look at the internet, the Web 1.0, the static version of the internet, it largely was handing over of information. Whereas before you had to rely on libraries, you had to go out, rain or sunshine, hope that the book is in the library. Suddenly there is information available on the internet. But it's quite limiting what you're able to do with it. Web 2.0 is when the social media explosion happened. So now you have all these platforms, suddenly you're able to stay in touch with friends in asynchronous real time. They post updates, you know what they're doing with their lives, where they are. However, at the same time, all of this data that is being generated is owned by platforms such as Facebook, where we are actually uploading this data to. And now we are at the doorstep of Web 3/Web 3.0. So Web 3.0 kind of evoking the semantic internet, where machines start talking like humans, where they understand like humans. So with ChatGPT, we see that this is quite, in a very real way, happening in this moment. I wonder how many people in this room might even be using ChatGPT for something in this very second as I'm speaking. So it's becoming an everyday part of our lives. And then we have Web 3, which is really what we'll be talking about today, the decentralized aspect of what the internet is and where it's going. So yeah, I'm going to hand over to my other panelists to talk more about Web 3 especially.
Thank you for a very, very nice overview of Web 1 to 3 journey. Bogdan, do you have any other insights you'd like to add to this? Or?
I can probably add just a few things. Remember that when we started with Web 1, we used to maybe get some friends and get someone that was a little bit more technical than us in order to find out a little bit more how to search that, how to do that on the internet, or how to install whatever is necessary to make that working. I would say that was the beginning of everything that's related to what's happening today, because we're asking the machines and we're in need of asking the technology how to operate and how to capitalize on the way. Today we have the Web 3.0 that we're doing the reverse side, where we're actually doing a lot of AI, doing a lot of IoT. So we're actually working with the machines in order to give them some orders or some questions in order to be able to answer to what is needed. So it's actually the reverse side. It's coming back from the, I would say, history. But furthermore, I'm really amazed about how this technology evolves. And I'm very happy that I'm seeing today here in Bangkok a lot of experienced people, a lot of interesting projects, a lot of, let's say, connected projects related to the new trends, which from my point of view, this makes the world great. Just to add you one more thing, I remember that I think first time I was here, it was like 15 years ago, or even more, we were barely going to find some, let's say, internet connections in order to be able, I don't know, to talk with the beloved people in Europe. Today, you see the technology and what's happening all around us. It's even here in Asia. I would say, I think it's a step further than what we're doing in Europe. And Web3 today is creating standards. This makes me even more happy because we are trying to work right now based on patterns, based on standards, and we're starting today to apply this on the highest level possible.
Thank you so much, Bogdan. Anything else on this?
Yeah, so I think the two panelists already said a lot about Web 1, 2, or 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So about myself, like I didn't have a chance to participate in the Web 1 evolution because at that time I was just a little boy. So luckily I'm involved in the Web 2 and Web 3.0. And so for me, like for summary, when I researching about Web 1 is more like a static page where like all the content is introduced and created by an organization which individual like us cannot be involved, right? So one of the first applications for the Web 1 is actually the email. And for the email, it's very limited of people who can enroll on that. But slowly we move into the Web 2, which we can see now today all the applications like Facebook, YouTube, and Pinterest and Instagram, so on, that allows users, also individuals like us, not just to read, but also to create, read, and interact as well, right? So content is not from the organization or from the company owner anymore. But for the Web3, we go into one more step. One of the problems with Web2 is that even though we can create the content, but all the content will still be stored like centralized, and we are not actually the ownership of the data or the content we create. But for Web3, we are now allowed to like own our content, own the work that we create, especially for the artists, right? And as well, it's allowed us to own the data ownership for ourselves. So that is the slowly step of Web 1, Web 2 to Web 3 that I would love to summary and add on as well.
Thank you so much, Trang. So as we can see, the journey from Web 1 to 3, has really been, one, where you first could read and then you moved on to being able to read and write in Web 2. And now what we're really, really focusing on in Web 3 is to be able to read, write, and own. And I believe it is this ownership aspect of it that is really what's driving Web3, the decentralized ownership aspect, as opposed to the centralized ownership aspect, which was what Web2 was all about. And this actually brings us into the concept of tokens and cryptocurrencies, because as we all know, cryptocurrencies, tokens are what drive the Web3 economies. They power up the Web3 economies. So basically, tokens are a very important aspect of Web3. We see that, yes, arguably the best, or unarguably the best, actually, demonstration of a Web3 economy has been in cryptocurrencies. And we see how, since Bitcoin came on the stage, tons of other cryptocurrencies have also been created, and how it has its own economy, it has its own markets. I think I was just checking on CoinMarketCap before this panel, and I believe it was the market cap, overall market cap of the entire crypto economy is, I think, at 1.55 trillion at the moment. Pretty massive, when you consider all things. But still, of course, not as massive as the fiat economy. What we'd like to look into actually is the impact of this crypto economy on the fiat economy. Obviously, there are some impact that's happening, and we would love to know your insights actually on what's happening right now. Maybe we'll start with BOGDAN now.
That's a good point you said. Actually, we have to admit that we're heading actually from decentralized ideas, I would say, like this, to the centralized solutions. Because furthermore, as I said, we are adopting and we're creating standards. I'm talking from my perspective. For example, we are creating a lot of government projects which are related to the blockchain technology in different domains, and we're applying that with success in European countries. And this makes me even more amazed about the adoption and the new trends which comes very easier after at least one example did it the same. So I'm talking that it's coming to the reflection that everything that's happening on this, let's say, the market of the crypto technologies and the blockchain technologies, it's reflecting in nowadays behavior. Because today, as you can see, everything is related to the new technologies. I would say blockchain is a vertical of the new trends and the new technologies, and sooner or later we will have a daily use of these technologies in our daily task. What's important to say is like this common behavior. It's applying in some countries already in different projects which are related, I don't know, to hospital, to transportation, and some other domains as well. And it's reflecting that day by day we are in need of adopting these technologies. Even more, if I can add just a little bit, just one more thing, is like you see, before we were unified by different, let's say, technologies, different domain of interest, different point of interest, like lifestyle, music, and some other things which are non-technical stuff. Today, it's happening to be unified by the blockchain technology. As you can see, this first summit, it's happening today with one big concern, I would say. Everybody needs to share the new trends, the new technologies, and see how we can unify our forces to make the world beauty with adopting these new technologies.
Yes, so maybe let me add on your point on that point. So for me, like we know that with blockchain technology, right, it's open many opportunity for like enterprise as well as like new generation of startup founder. So for blockchain, it's not just like revolution the way how we interact with the web, but it's also open the web gateway for the new financial segment as well. So besides what we all know like stock trading, like commodity trading, like other things like mutual fund or certificate of deposit or bond, right? With blockchain, it also allows us to open a new segment like cryptocurrency trading. But cryptocurrency is not just about trading, replacing like the token of a startup or a project or a company, but it's also helping us like to solve the problem with like transferring our own money globally. So for example, like when I travel from Vietnam to Thailand and need to do some payment here in Vietnam, before there's very few solutions I can use, like either like use a card or MasterCard, or I need to like carry some cash with me, right? But thanks to cryptocurrency, I just need to like few clicks, I can transfer directly to here, some vendor or something I need to pay. So that is one thing, like borderless transfer of the money that cryptocurrency sold. And the other thing is like we opening the new trading segment when we talk about financial as well. Yeah, so that is the two things I think like with blockchain can add on for the financial.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, definitely. Blockchains have the blockchain currencies they have definitely penetrated more. I would say into Amazon. How much more? I mean, what kind of impact are we seeing in terms of like the fiat economy, perhaps? Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
I think when we look at the awareness and then adoption, obviously topics that ways need to be discussing, as much as we sitting here on a stage and we have an audience in front of us, and these are terms that likely are somewhat, if not very familiar to all of us. There are people out there in the world who have no idea what we're talking about. There are people who've never heard the word blockchain, to whom cryptocurrency is nothing more than a scam, and Web3 is absolutely meaningless. So I always think about it, these questions. I'm not sure this is still working. That would be great. When in doubt, this one always wins out. As much as we can come together today and talk about the use cases and about why all of this is important, ultimately it is still a spectrum. So when we think about the impact that these technologies have had, it absolutely depends on who you're speaking to. I was thinking to myself earlier as I was listening to BOGDAN talk about the experiences that he has developing for governments. Now, I have been on the other end of the table where, as a marketing person working on these projects with governments, we are not there yet. So the implementation, for example, might look very different from the development. And I think this is similarly, if we look at the impact that these technologies have had, depending on the country, for instance, I think Chang made a really good point about cross-the-border payments, because that certainly is in my own life. Whenever I do need to do an international fiat transfer, I'm struck by how just archaic the process is. I mean, you wait a week, you have to have a phone call with someone. It's something that doesn't really fit into the modern day lifestyle anymore. If I make a cryptocurrency transfer, I do it in less than a minute, and the money shows up anywhere else in the world. So for me, as a busy business person that doesn't have the time to get bogged down by bureaucratic processes that are outdated, yeah, that's a daily use case for cryptocurrency. If we talk about blockchain technology, the enterprise blockchain technologist, let's say, will have a very different view of blockchain technology than someone that is building a Web3 native decentralized product for other people that are exclusively using decentralized products. So I think there's a spectrum of people, there's a spectrum of use cases, and so if you find yourself speaking to someone where their implementation of the technology or their understanding or their philosophical outlook of the technology differs from yours, I think that it's very important to point out that there really is so much of a scope that this technology has, that really every pocket of people that you speak to might have a very different understanding. However, there's so much room to implement the technology, whatever the industry, whatever the use case, and whatever the motivation.
Thank you so much.
Can I add on one more point about finance? Yeah. So I think like with blockchain and cryptocurrencies allow us to as well like involve all the unbanked people to this Web3 evolution. So talking about like unbanked people rates in Vietnam, it can go up to 40% of all population as well. So just the reason why we see like all fintech startup, they are still fail into tapping into that segment of customer is one of the key roles I have observed is because I also have been working in a few fintech companies as well. Like the first, like the latest one is backed by Y Combinator. It's because like the fintech startup, they are not that strong in terms of building a community for those unbanked people. But in the other side, Web3 startup like us, right? We are really strong in terms of building community, and community building in marketing for Web3 is like 70% of the work, right? So just talking about us, I think like for some Web3 startup, if you want to tap into the unbanked people, that up to like 40 to 50% of all the emerging market or Asian countries in Vietnam, I think you have a big share in that side of the market.
That's absolutely a really good point. And BOGDAN, I think you wanted to.
One more little thing in addition to what NADJA said. You're absolutely right. There are different, let's say, plan of approaches in different countries. One of them are more developed, some of them are less developed. But what the most important thing is, what I'm seeing today is like crypto is not all about the trading platforms or the arbitrage or everything that's related to online transactions in this crypto world. It's about the technology that started to be implemented in different industries, which are making our lifestyle even more easier. Most of the people that are technical probably they know that some of the softwares are using the blockchain technology or even a blockchain infrastructures, which might be related only to a simple data center, which is connected to a blockchain infrastructure. That's more for the technical side. And the people that are using the different apps or different applications, which are not related to the payment system, maybe they are not aware of that. So what we're seeing today is like blockchain was adopted already, and we got filtered, and I think that's the most important thing. Before the pandemic, we had like a lot of projects related to these new technologies, blockchain and crypto. Some of them were nonsense, or some of them were maybe they didn't take actually the correct plan of approach in order to be able to start some sort of awareness and start to market them in addition to what he intended to implement. Today we've got educated, and we're seeing day by day more filtered projects, more filtered startups in the fintech technologies, which are more related to what we're looking for. We're looking for real projects that can be implemented, not dreams, which are using the latest trend technologies. I'm talking here about AI, blockchain, machine learning, and so on.
Thank you so absolutely. I totally agree with everyone, on the fact that blockchain has a huge number of different use cases, and it's like a spectrum. But I also believe that what is very essential about blockchains is the fact that they've thrown the whole concept of value. How we value things, it's just been blown out of water, so to speak. In the past, people were very set on their concept of what value was and how to value things, and it was according to what their currencies, like the global standards of, how, things were being valued at how much. And then we compare it globally across different countries. But with cryptocurrencies, I think we crossed all of that. It was a huge disruption. And the whole concept of what is actually the value of something in a because now we're valuing in tokens, right? And then these tokens start to take on a value on its own when it's on a market. I mean, the whole concept of value just became extremely questioned and disrupted. And I would say that this is actually a very good thing, considering how centralized I would say our economies has been for a while, right? And they were starting to get more and more centralized. The fact that blockchains has been able to open up and just decentralize, the fact that we're able to do peer-to-peer transactions, I think that is an access and a power that we've never had before. But moving on, what kinds of challenges do these decentralized economies, especially in enterprises, what kind of challenges are there when we're talking about decentralized economies, and how can they be more effective, in terms of how they're being implemented and how operationally they can be, across industries and maybe, I don't know, NADJA, maybe you want to start off giving me insights, based on your industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have the perfect life example for this. As I mentioned when I introduced myself, so I worked in what was then called digital marketing, and then transitioned from having an agency where clients were allowing us to push boundaries into the pharmaceutical corporate environment, where even though it was still breaking boundaries with marketing, it was very much within the boundaries of very strict regulations. And so I think similarly, if you talk about the adoption of decentralized technologies and all of the other aspects to Web3 in an enterprise environment, that really means that it's going to come up against the very nature of that which it's been designed to provide an alternative against. So an enterprise environment by default is very centralized, and so here's this technology that is all for decentralization. So certainly it feels as though there is a philosophical clash, and arguably there might be, depending on the industry in question, depending on the company in question. I think if we look at what the benefits are of decentralized technologies, the fact that it is transparent, it's a very, very big and important keyword, and it might be that there are enterprises that feel not really what they are going for, and there are others for whom it might be the perfect solution. But this is also something that has to be extended to the industry itself. So I've worked with a number of different supply chain projects where the startup might have an innovative solution to a supply chain issue, but some of the other stakeholders within this chain, not everyone wants all of the data to be on the blockchain, immutable, and without question. So I think what is perhaps a bigger challenge, not only the typical enterprise challenges of change management and adoption of new practices, which always takes a lot of time. I mean, corporate enterprise is a slow-moving machine, aka dinosaur, depending on where you stand. But on the other hand, the industries themselves also need to shift and continue to shift. We saw this recently with the entertainment industry when Hollywood went on strike because ChatGPT exists. So similarly, industries really perhaps would need to come to a point where they say, listen, now there's no excuse not to use blockchain technology for these practices. For it to become widely adopted over the next, I think, decade or so. But I think ultimately it will win out if it's more logical to use a technology that addresses certain issues that cannot be solved any other way. That is the best use case for something like blockchain technology.
Like to give us some examples,
Team of developers. I would like to have a concrete example of raising through crypto blockchain, let's say $1 million in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is a place where there is a very liquid market. And can you eventually answer just this simple question of how to set up this 1 million startup blockchain crypto token mini fund? Thank you.
Okay, so you're basically talking about fundraising, right? How to?
Yes, would be fundraising or another labeling of the business, but a practical aspect of what you are presenting, because you are expert here, you are 4 people, one better than the other one, and so I would like only just an example, a case study, how would you do it? That's okay.
Does any one of you want to?
Maybe I can get that if I understand it right. You want some suggestions which are related to bringing some investors or a group of investors to help you with scaling up your startup?
Okay, initially would be to use the crypto, the blockchain, and the token, and raise, let's say, $1 million as a seed money. I introduce myself. My name is Fernand Danan from Paris, France. I am an airline captain on Airbus A340, retired, and I'm an investment banker in aircraft lease financing. Voilà.
Do any of you want to take this on? Or?
I can maybe give a try. Thank you for that. I'm not sure if I'm able today to tell you the right story, but I can maybe talk a little bit from my experience and what kind of suggestions I did for some of my startups or some of the companies I used to work with. I think everything starts with a story. So we need to make sure that the most important thing is related to what's being transparent and being realistic. As I said in this panel today, is like today the world is looking for a filter solution, not stories which are nonsense. I think we got educated to understand a little bit much better what our strengths and what we'll be heading to. So as long as the project is real and it's transparent and it's serious and very, very important, it can be implemented in the real world. Because at the end of the day, I think the successful projects are related to this. You have very good chances to apply it and scale it up and work with different investors. What I can give a suggestion is like, I have different examples. Of course, you have to start up as you have to set up as a startup. You have to start making some basic awareness, at least, to the people which are relevant to this area of interest, and furthermore, be able to present concretely your solutions and your point of view, which is related to the real implementation in the real world. As a matter of fact, what's also really, really important is like you have to sit down with people which share the same thoughts with you, not waste the time on, let's say, topics which are not relevant to the industry that you want to apply to this. And you have to be very, let's say, straight to the point with what exactly you're looking for. One more thing, if I can give it as a suggestion, is like you probably need to prove, first of all, this is a bulletproof solution, and you have to prove that you added a certain amount of investment from your own pocket before you go and try to, let's say, achieve any certain level of seed investments or private equity or fund investments and so on. From my point of view, when we're doing this business angel investment with our group of companies, the most important thing is like to see the owner is devoted, they run a very strong team, and what's really differentiating to this area is like they invested a certain amount of time and efforts and money to develop at least an MVP product. I don't know if this gives you help, give you some help.
It's done already. It's done already. We have it ready to go.
I'll just add something. I think where the market is also extremely important. So whenever there's a bull market, when Bitcoin price is extremely high and all of the altcoins, the prices keep on shooting up, people invest in pretty much everything if they think it's going to give them quick gains. Hopefully with this learning that we've had over the last 2 years, things will be different, but then hope springs eternal. I think we know what human nature is like. However, institutional investors, they very closely follow the market. So first of all, ensure that there is genuine utility to what it is that you are building. If you are the only person who sees the utility, probably you are very early, or usually when others can't see it, you're too early. On the other hand, it's also extremely important to understand that just because you're not getting that investment at a particular point in time, it doesn't mean you might not get it in future. However, it might mean that you would need to pivot. So what you are offering right now is perhaps not speaking to the market as much as the market needs to be spoken to in that time, in that way. But the idea itself, can be fluid enough where you are able to have it tailored to the market. So I think it's always a very delicate dance between the innovation from the founder and then, of course, the market appetite, especially from an institutional investment perspective.
Thank you very kindly for your leads and indication. Thank you. I appreciate it. Merci.
Also, to make sure that you design a tokenomics that fits what you're offering. Make sure the valuation of what you're offering is there and designed properly. I think tokenomics would be something that you really want to learn.
Yes, I'll be in touch with each of you if you don't mind. Thank you.
No worries. One more thing, you also need a little piece of, or maybe more of luck. Luck is always the best, right? In every single thing.
Thank you so much. We're going to move on actually to the our last question actually, and we don't actually have much more time, so I'm going to just ask you guys to give me your opinions on maybe what's next for Web3, the next phase that you think the new trends are coming along. Maybe we'll start with TRANG.
Yeah, so I actually want to add on your previous point, but this point is discussion. So for me, I'm guessing that for the Web3, we will not just see fresh startup in Web3 anymore, but we will slowly see Web2 startup, as well enterprise. We will slowly implement blockchain in not just only how their listed run, but also for start doing fundraising. So if like for us as the investors, individual or even like investment firms, we need to make sure that no enterprise or no venture startup understand like the difference between like running a startup in venture and venture. What different, right? I think like the biggest difference is about like data ownership. What Web2 is like having the power is they own data from the user. And based on that, they have many different ways to create a revenue stream for their startup. But in Web3, we are completely blind in terms of our data user, right? So what is the go-to-market strategy after they implement the blockchain technology? We as the investor need to care. And the other one is how you can secure your fund or your user fund. We see a lot of like hot case in the Web3. A lot of enterprise and network has been used money, right? So for enterprise, for Web2 startup move to Web3, we also need to ask that question and make sure they have a solid answer for that. And also how they gonna govern their business when they do like transformation from Web2 to Web3.
So you're saying that there's going to be lots of 2.5 types of pieces of 2.5, moving from Web 2 to Web 3 kind of industry.
Yeah, that I think like there will be the trend for that.
I mean, that's actually the trend currently right now. We see lots of actually businesses that have been operating in like a Web 2 type of structure. They're trying to move into Web 3. And a lot of times it's to do with fundraising, trying to like get more funding, into whatever operations they're trying to implement. NADJA, what's coming?
Very quick, what's next? We all seen in the beginning of the event. The next is Dubai, then Indonesia, then Singapore, all the Trescon events. Thank you.
All right, yes. Okay, NADJA?
Yeah, what's next? I think Web3 is one piece of a very big and very interesting puzzle. Because I think we are standing on the precipice of just extreme societal change when it comes to technology. And I always feel like maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic because then I speak to someone who doesn't work in technology and they don't have the same insights I do, which means they don't necessarily share the same insights. However, I think it's palpable because people are sharing the sentiment, even if they don't have maybe such a nuanced perspective. So I think we are at a time where technology is absolutely going to revolutionize the way that we interact with the world. And this is everything from business and finance, but really also just how we perceive the world. Because now with AI we have deep fakes, for example, so we don't even know if anything that we are reading or seeing in the news is true anymore. So is there a use case for Web3 that applies to everyone? I think the more that we see AI come into its own, the more we are going to see blockchain for provenance. This is absolutely inevitable. It's not going to be because it's driven by a fad. Much of Web3 at times is driven by a fad. I think NFTs was a great example. During COVID, everyone stayed home. Summer of 2021, NFT shot up as if it was the next best thing that was going to save the world. That has died down. However, the NFTs as a technology has not died down. So now if you look at some of the biggest brands in the world, they are using NFTs for marketing, for loyalty programs. So I think, really just to then go along the same lines of Web 2.5, I don't think we are going to see this very stark transition from 1 to 2 to 3, because in actuality it didn't happen with the others as well. It's a gradual change. And so will there be a time when the world is Web 3ified, when we all live in the metaverse? I think this is something that really no one can answer because the conceptualization of technology is different from the implementation and the actual use of it. But certainly it's going to be a different future for us all.
Thank you so much, NADJA. I see Sonali telling me that I have to cut this off. So I'm just going to add one last thing really quickly. For me, myself, I see a return, I would say, a back to Bitcoin kind of movement, basically. With the ordinals, and the whole BRC20 movement, I see actually a lot of interest actually in trying to get the Bitcoin network to become more like Ethereum, with more, use cases, more utility, all of that. So that's something that I feel might become a more important trend as we go along next year in 2024. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much, guys, for all the insights and opinions and comments that you've given to the audience, and thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you again for TPS for having us.
A round of applause to our